You're listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Nicholas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build $1 billion company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a $1 billion empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Welcome to the Loida Lewis Podcast, and I have the pleasure of presenting to you a Filipino who is a 3-time Tony Award-winning producer, Grammy Award winner, and film director. And that is Jhett Tolentino. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yes. Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for doing that for me.
So, you're the first one who won not only one, two, but 3
Yeah.
Tony Award-winning Broadways. So,
Wow.
can you just tell the audience, those who have not known about it? Yes.
Yeah, well, actually,
The first one.
The first one was my Broadway debut. It was with Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike. That was with Sigourney Weaver and David Hyde Pierce, Kristen Nielsen, and Billy Magnuson, who's now big in Hollywood. That was that. And I picked up Raisin in the Sun with Denzel Washington as my second Tony, and then Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. So in 13 months, I had the 3 Tonys.
13 months. Can you imagine that? He's a producer. So
Yeah.
just give a little background. You came from the Philippines.
Yes.
All right. You arrived here
Yeah.
so many years ago.
Yeah, I arrived in California, actually, because my training was there in Oakland, California, for sales and marketing. I was there for 2 years, and then the company was absorbed by Radio Shack. So I was given the chance to either go somewhere else. So I applied to Southwest Airlines, actually, because it's my lifelong dream to be a flight attendant.
Wow.
Because I was never accepted in the Philippines because of my height. You know, they have a 5'8" requirement there, and I'm only 5'5". So out of a whim here, this is America. You can be whatever you want to be. So I
The
applied.
American dream.
Exactly, and I got accepted, and was supposed to go to Houston for training. And then my friend in New Jersey at that time called me and said, you're still looking for a job? Because, we have an opening for a mortgage company.
Mortgage company.
Mortgage.
Okay.
And I have an accounting degree. So I was like, oh my God, I've never been to New York. So I submitted my resume, and they wanted me in for an interview. So I didn't go to Houston, to make this long story short. So I'm here. And that was that. And it's really New York that made it possible for me. In hindsight, I was thinking what my life would have been had I gone to Houston instead.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, president of Southwest Airline. Who knows? But the most important thing is that you came to New York because the opportunity came.
Well, because, New York is really the center of the universe, as everybody says. And I was
agree.
curious that I've never been. So it was such a tease, a huge tease for me to not accept.
Yes. Well, in the Roman Empire, Rome, all roads lead to Rome. Here, it's Pax Americana.
Exactly.
So all roads lead to New York, and
Yeah.
that's what you did.
Yes.
All right. So how were you able to jump into theater?
Yeah. Well, here,
the Tonys. Yes.
while working here, I didn't have any friends or family, and I'm not really social. I just kept to myself. So daytime would be work, and then I went to Broadway because they say you will be a full-fledged New Yorker if you have 3 things: lawyer, accountant, and a shrink. Yeah. So
those are the three
exactly
careers.
the 3 measures that you'll be a certified New Yorker. So, again, a counterpart, I get that. Law, I don't really need it at that time. And then strength, yes, because I'm a bit lonely at times. So I sought refuge to Broadway. And I love that idea that when I get in, lights off, I left my worry and nostalgia at the door, and I get entertained. And every so often, I would see myself in one of the characters or people that I knew from my past life. And I would do a double check if I did the right thing or not. Silly. And I was like, what's going on with me? Am I crazy? And then I became jaded by 2008.
So you mean to say you just continuously went to Broadway show?
Yeah, after having seen over 1,000 shows, I was like, I've had it. I don't
Meaning
like
to say
things.
you understood what makes things work
Yes.
on theater and what doesn't.
I started to count the cast, the scene changes, even the costume, the source of the lights. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, this is not normal. Because I keep asking people also who I've met along my theater life then that, no, they don't think that way. So I said, my God. So, and I thought I had to study about, the finance part of it. Why is Broadway a $10 billion annual business in New York with 41 Broadway houses? That means at least 35 to 40 new Broadway shows produced every year. Only 20% would see recoupment, and only half of that will see profit. So why is it a thriving business? So I wanted to understand because I have a finance degree. And and from that I started becoming jaded. As I said, if I would guess the ending of a play or a musical, I would hate that. I will not recommend it. Because to me, art is a two-way street. I wanted these plays or musicals to leave the audiences thought-provoked and give the audience their own agency to interpret how they want the show or play to go. I don't like spoon-feeding.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is just curiosity. And by...
But by doing that, were you able to express it to your friends about this place like this or this places like that?
The first group that I ended up going together are the flight attendants. Most of them are Jewish.
Your ex-future
Americans, exactly.
Yes,
Americans, Jewish. And, before or after the show, we'd go together and brainstorm. And they found me very opinionated, strongly.
You were very opinionated.
Yeah, and I'm a bit annoyed because sometimes someone will be late and I have to repeat what I just said. And they suggested to me, why don't you put it on a blog? Because it's the thing now. So that was 2008, the height of blogging. So I did a blog. It's all about the theater by Jhett Tolentino.
Jhett.
Yes.
All right.
And, I just wanted to save my readers their time and money. So whatever I would recommend, that's what they're going to see. And by 2009, I started to get invitations from Broadway productions to sit through readings, presentations, even premiere or opening nights. So,
okay. So do you see that? He honed his craft almost by accident.
Yeah.
By seeing almost 1,000 shows, you understood which one works, which doesn't. And you started getting noticed.
Yeah,
Great.
well, because of my writing. I'm not a very good writer. I just straight from the heart, I would call it as it is, without thinking that these productions would get hold of my writing. So all those parties that I attended, and some of them still don't have sense of humor. Some of them still don't talk to me to this time because of what I've horribly written about their show. So they came up to me and verbatimly recited the things that I said to them. I wrote about them.
But it was authentic. It was your own honest opinion.
Exactly.
You were like a critic.
I mean, I'm not the New York Times. I did not shut down your show. It was just...
Yes,
that was that. And from that point on, I was torn whether I continue on. And then, but the big part of me is that I feel for those people that were affected by my words.
Yes.
Again,
because they work on it.
Exactly. I thought, they'll be fine. They'll go on to the next show. Who cares?
Yes.
And that was that. So for 4 months, I was struggling because I didn't write anything. And then my readers would message me, hey, the show opened. Are we supposed to see this? What's the review? What's the verdict?
Yes.
And I would just reply, just pick up the phone and let's talk about it. I don't put anything in writing anymore because I got phobia.
Yes.
know.
Yeah, you didn't want to affect people's
Yeah.
livelihood.
Yeah, and at that time I was working for this Jewish woman, and she saw how.
It affected you.
Exactly. I was like in a daze. There's something inside me that wants to come up, and it was like she was like, you know what? You have a finance degree. Why don't you figure out producing? You pick the show, and I'll write the check.
Wow. An angel.
Yeah, that was the start. So, and off Broadway in 2011, I played around because I wanted to start small. And the first show that I ever produced in New York was My Name is Asher Lev, which won the Critics Circle Best Play with over 400 entries.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
so
Can you
we
believe
ran
that?
we ran
Yes.
for over a year at the West Side Theater. That was
Okay.
that. And then
Off Broadway, for those who do not know, Broadway is the big thing.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Off Broadway is less than 500 seats. Less than
yes, it's 600 actually.
600 seats. Okay, so that's off Broadway.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, and then after that, I of course.
so it was money making. It delivered. It delivered.
It was such an impactful show because it's about this Orthodox Jewish boy who grew up in Brooklyn, who's an artist, but what he paints is about crucifixes and nudity. And he really had to fight his parents about that. So it's a very radical show, and that's why we won over 400 plays. And of course, and I always think of professional advancement. Where do I take the next level? And then it was the show Kinky Boots who pushed me to be on my own.
You mean you saw the show?
I can't forget this day.
Yes.
January 12, 2012. I was invited by the production to sit in for the first presentation. There's no costume, no choreography. It's just the songs. And that's when I met Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper is the author of Kinky Boots.
Yes. And so at that time, I belonged to a group of investors. We band together and we call ourselves something else. I'm not going to mention it. And then when the presentation was finished, I turned to the guys and said, we have to produce the show. And they were like, no, we're not. And they said, how many gay shows can Broadway produce? La Cage aux Folles just closed at 60% loss. So I just kept quiet. So that's when I realized that I have a different take. I'm just unique, and I follow my gut. So I flew to Chicago to watch the world premiere of Kinky Boots. And by that time, when I decided to get in, it was just very, very, very tiny investment, but we quadrupled our money there.
Wow. Kinky
Yeah,
Boots. It's
Kinky
a story
Boots,
of someone who was gay, but inherited a shoe business from the father.
Yeah.
And what he did was make Kinky Boots. And it's a true story.
Yeah, it's a combination. I have a partnership of this. I would say at that time she would have been called as drag queen, and then this son who inherited the shoe factory from his father, but they're closing the factory. So the drag queen and the son met and produced Kinky Boots. So that was the story. It was actually a flop movie in the UK.
Oh, I didn't even know it was a movie.
It was a flop movie first, and then they picked it up, and that was that. And then so I was looking for new things to do, and I saw Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike at the New House Theater. It's an off-Broadway space by the Lincoln Center, and I was left shaken. So I approached Andre Bishop. He was the president of Lincoln Center at that time. And I asked, what's the plan for the show? Because I really loved it and it has to go to Broadway. And they were like, no, we are not moving because one, it's a very long title. It's always confused with Uncle Vanya.
Yes, exactly. I was going to ask you, is that that's an offshoot of Uncle Vanya?
No.
It's Chekhov's play, very famous.
Exactly. And then Sigourney Weaver at that time was going to go to New Zealand to film Avatar 2. So there's no hope for the... Yeah. But, again, my business partner and I, we made a down payment to hold Sigourney and offer for a 6-month run. So even if we were just 6 months on Broadway, we made 40% profit.
My goodness gracious. You followed your gut.
Exactly. So and then that was that. That was March 14, 2013, my Broadway debut.
And that was a Tony.
Yeah, it won
Got
the
a Tony.
Tony, and then again the next year. So after the 13th month, a lot of seasoned Jewish producer would come up to me. It's like, who the hell are you? I've been in this business for 40 years. I never won a Tony. What's the secret? So that was that.
The secret is that he's got a good sense and
Yeah.
your immersion in what makes a good play by seeing 1,000 plays.
Yeah, and also understanding the market, where it's going, because to me, it's what's the term? It's generational.
Okay,
Yeah.
flavor of the month, more or less.
Or the year.
Or the year.
Especially the Gen Zs now, they rule the world now. So you're gonna have to strike the balance between commercial and, because commercial doesn't really mean it would fly with the critics. So you gotta strike the balance between the two.
All right, very good. And to get her, Weaver, what's her first name?
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver, to get her to stay
Yes.
when Avatar 2 was in the works.
That was easy because Chris Durang, who wrote the Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike, and Sigourney, they went to college together.
No, that's tight. That is tight.
So it was, somebody just have to write the check to hold her and, make an offer to
Yes, of course.
Can you delay? Call James Cameron to delay.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's limited run.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was limited because she was leaving.
That's terrific. And then you came up with the second play.
Actually, Vanya we kept on, extending and getting other artists because we won the Tony, right?
Okay, yes.
And then, of course, to that, I had to get other shows, and that was that was my first time partnering with Scott Rudin for A Raisin in the Sun with Denzel.
Denzel Washington. Raisin in the Sun is a story of a black family that had dreams of buying their own land, their own house.
Yeah, and my God, that's such a beautiful story. So, and I'm a fan of the show already, and it's one of my to-do lists, and I can't say no also because I share the same birthday with Denzel Washington, which is a pretty cool thing. When
Capricorn, December
exactly.
28th.
And so are you. Sorry.
So Denzel Washington, oh my God, that is a real coup.
Yeah.
How did you get him?
We were only for 12 weeks.
Limited run.
You can't, with Oscar winners, you gotta do limited.
Yes.
But we extended for 2 more weeks, and I think we made about 18% profit. On
80% profit.
18, sorry.
Well, still,
Yeah, and
whatever, profit.
Yeah, and I appreciate the black community because they actually go out in droves in support of black artists. And that's what I've noticed on Broadway. So it's really, I learned from that group that you gotta have to support your. Not that it's a slappy show. It's
That was terrific. It's a revival of A Raisin in the Sun.
Exactly.
And with Denzel Washington there, that was already a draw.
Yeah, and at the same time, at the same year, I also had Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
In the same year.
Same year. That's why I won 2 Tonys in one night in
one
2014.
night. Oh my God. So Gentleman's Love is a story really of from a play.
It was also a flop movie in the UK.
That was
that this particular royal family, there was one heir that because his mother was peasant, so the royal family did not accept his mother, but he just found out about these things when his mother died. So he waged revenge against the royal family and killed off all those 7 ahead of him.
You know who is the
There's a
nearest
succession.
relative. So he slowly was able to kill them all off.
Did you see it?
Yes, of course.
Oh my God.
Yes, of course.
That was a riot show.
Yes,
It was
It was terrific.
I was scared actually to produce that show because at that time there were so many big musicals coming to Broadway. Beautiful.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
with
we were up
Carol
against-
King.
Yeah, Carol, Beautiful, Aladdin, If Then with Idina Menzel, Janis Joplin, Rocky. I mean,
Yes.
they were like, "What are you doing in that show? You have no stars.
And
it's a
it's
long
like
title."
it's like in 18th century.
No, yes, it's actually
19th
1907.
century.
1907. My attraction to the show is because the music is organic. So we didn't have anything attached to the wall. So it was all live orchestra. We didn't have any sensitizers because at that time there was none. So the authenticity. So out of the 10 Tony nominations we got, we won 4 of them.
Yes, no, that's terrific. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's 3 Tony Awards in 14 months, did you say?
13 months.
In 13 months.
In 13 months.
Okay, but Grammy is, singing.
Oh, Grammy,
How did you get the Grammy Award?
The Grammy was for The Color Purple in 2016 when they were mounting it. I'm a fan already of the original production. I think that was 2006, 2007. But
Okay, Color
they
Purple
lost.
was first a book,
Yes.
a bestseller, and then it became a movie.
Yeah, with Oprah
Winfrey.
And the Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah.
And then they put it in Broadway.
Yeah.
Musical. It became a musical.
It became a musical in 2006. And it was Fantasia Barrino, actually. And then I loved the show, but for some reason it did not work. So they lost quite a lot in 2006. So in the second time around, they stripped the show down to just focus on the book and the score. And it's glorious. So it was too late to produce the Broadway show itself, but I had a chance to produce the album because I'm good friends with, at that time, with Broadway Records with Van Deen. So I jumped on the board to fund the album, the soundtrack, which that was a lot of money at that time. But it took us 4 years actually to recoup the soundtrack, but we did it.
So you mean to say it became a CD?
At that time, yes, we were still selling CDs at that time.
Right, right.
Yeah, and again, because nobody's buying CDs anymore, so it took us a long time to recoup, but we did. I mean, you got Jennifer Hudson, Cynthia Erivo.
All of those were in. Oh my God, they're big stars
it's
now.
It's a lot. I know.
Yes.
That's why I also know about the budget in producing a soundtrack.
Soundtrack, okay. So for the soundtrack, they got the Grammy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, goodness gracious. So that's all performance here. So we did not hear from you after some time. What is on your table now? What's the project? Yes.
Well,
there
for
must
context,
be something.
2018, at that time, when they pitched, when I heard about Frozen, the musical, at $35,000, I was like, there's no way they're going to recoup that. I don't care.
$35
million.
$million.
The budget. Yeah, I said I don't care if they made $2 billion in the movie. There's nowhere they're gonna recoup that in the theater. So and I was right. They lost. Unfortunately,
it did not stay long.
It did not stay long. Again, coming from with a finance background, so I know the economics.
He's an accountant, everyone.
So I'm very keen on budget, and so I can predict the recoupment chart in the 41 Broadway houses in whatever capacity in what month. So I study all this before I pitch it to any investors. So, and that was that. So I was struggling already with the notion that Broadway has become too commercial for me as an independent producer. So, and then somebody sent me the script of Lingua Franca. It was written by Isabel Sandoval. I graduated summa cum laude from the University of San Carlos in Cebu. And I read it. I was like, oh my God. I've read so many scripts from my Broadway life, but this was remarkable. So I dropped everything I was doing on Broadway. I said, you know what? I produced 18 shows already in 7 years. And this must be the sign that I have to evolve into something else.
Okay, so this one is a script for a movie, for a film, not Broadway or not off Broadway.
Yes. Yeah, and then I studied filmmaking just out of the whim because, I got to be quick. And I realized that independent films are actually produced with much smaller budget than Broadway. And we just do it in a short period of time. It lives on forever because the product is digital. I was like, whoa.
Now, it used to be film.
Yeah.
But now because of the onset of...
It's digital now.
Everything is digital. Not everything, but now it's digital.
Yes.
So it's better able to transport.
Yeah, that's what attracted me. That's why most people especially from the Philippines, don't know or heard about me, because if I had a Broadway show, I stayed in New York and I can't go anywhere because you gotta be there. Unlike in film, and look at me, I actually traveled to 11 countries so far this year. So I love it.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
so for those who are watching, never name your son or daughter Jhett, okay? Because it's such, I have to live up with my name because otherwise it'll be a shame. I travel a lot.
Jet plane. Okay, a life of a jet setter.
Yeah.
Right. But it's spelled Jhett.
Double T.
Okay, so it's a little different than Jet.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I picked up Lingua Franca. I produced that, and we premiered at Venice Film Festival, and then we won Best Picture in 10 countries.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So, lingua franca, which means frank language, isn't it?
It's a
It's
bridge
Latin.
language. It's actually French. It's a bridge language between two speakers that don't speak English. So in lingua franca we have Russian and Filipino, and English becomes their lingua franca.
Okay. So, this one was a woman, a transgender.
Yes.
So it's very, very forward.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and then at that time, 2018, I was like, so this is the first film in the world to be written and directed by a trans woman, and she just happens to be Filipino. I can't miss on that
Yes.
because I like to do projects that's really impactful to
Yes.
culture and to me professionally. So I don't produce light things, or something that
Breaking barriers.
It has to be again, yes. Yeah, it has to have some meaning and purpose to the community.
Okay. Can you believe that? Awards in 7 countries?
10.
In 10 countries.
And Isabel defeated Frances McDormand. Frances won the Oscar. Isabel won in Russia for Best Actress. They were up against each other for the same movie.
My goodness, same time.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you imagine
Yes.
that? That
Frances
was huge.
McDormand won the Oscar.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't talk about the movie because it was like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Not worth mentioning.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And Isabel is now an Oscar voter. Yeah, she directed Andrew Garfield in Under the Banner of the Sun.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, amazing things. So I'm happy to launch that career also, right?
Yes. So now you're in film.
I'm focusing on films now because again, to me, Broadway is hard work. Nothing wrong with it. Hard work. But to
Too
me,
expensive also.
yes, filmmaking is working smart. And I'm not getting any younger.
No, and also, as you said, short period of time,
Yeah.
less money than a
Yes.
Broadway show.
Yes.
And if it's a good film, it will go.
Yeah, it lives on forever because
Yes.
especially the streaming now,
Also,
it's
yes,
a
so
very
many.
expansive shelf life. So the revenue stream is expansive in films.
Yes. So has there been any other, projects that's on your plate?
Well, as you know,
If you can tell.
I finished. I did my feature directorial debut with Asian Persuasion. Luckily, my distributor Scatina and Rosner, they announced it already, so they're at the American Film Market this week to sell it, and we're hoping to be on streaming services spring next year.
All right. Asian Persuasion is a story of a man who got divorced
Yes.
and yet eventually won back.
Yeah,
Yes.
he just realized that he still loves her, and
And she
it
loves him.
happens.
Yes.
It happens. But again, having that experience, I thought I want to do more because Asian Persuasion was done with 21 Asian countries involved. So it was very powerful. So I was very intentional in hiring production heads because especially women and LGBTQ filmmakers, because I prioritize them. And these artists and filmmakers, they were thankful for the opportunity because for the longest time, they've been working as assistants in other production for the past decade. And nobody has given them the deciding hat to be head of a department. And these are 10 women in my production.
Okay, from
Just
different countries.
From different countries. So, and that's the joy that I take away from that film, that nobody can say that they did that. I did that. And I want to continue empowering and making spaces for young AAPI artists in the film industry.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want, the Asian American community in the United States has grown from 2010 census to 2020 census, 37%. We're the fastest growing minority in the United States.
Yeah.
And in terms of politics, sometimes before we were just marginalized. Now we are the margin of victory
Yes.
in a very close election.
I'm excited.
Yes.
It's exciting.
So, yes. So in terms of the Filipino community in the arts, in film, what are your own thoughts vis-a-vis your own work?
Well, I have been, just for context, so right now I'm not producing one project at a time anymore. I've wisened up because I think I have the body of work to back me up and the network and bandwidth that I can push forward. I'm just missing the partner that can finance everything. So I put all my project in one pipeline, and that's what I've been looking around to pitch for a Hollywood production company focusing on the AAPI artists. Stories, money, and crew, everything AAPI. So that's what I'm concentrating on.
Wow, that's terrific. That's another barrier, another ceiling that he's gonna break.
Yeah, there was an article in 2020 March that came out, a study that says the filmmaking industry has been making 6% steady annual rise every year at the box office, which making the film industry at a $50 billion industry. And they looked into it that 12% of that annual increase is AAPI story. So if you've noticed, for the past 6 or 7 Oscars, there had been Asian films.
Well, I know about the Korean.
Yeah.
And of course, the first Asian best leading actress.
Yes.
Michelle Cho.
Yeah, everything
Yes.
ever all at once.
Yes.
And so it's really encouraging to see all these stats. So for my part, I'm looking at, because the East Asians are doing well.
East Asians is China and Korea
and Japan.
and Japan.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I'm focusing on the Southeast and Pan Asia. That also extends to the Middle East because there's still Asia. So that's my focus on trying to explore the region for partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a little bit that you have been through 7 countries?
11 this year.
11 countries.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose?
Well, this year for those who follow astrology, I'm a fire dragon, so this year is my year. So that alone gave me the confidence to push for my proposed Hollywood production company that's focusing on the AAPI artists. So I dedicated this year to go around Pan Asia to explore partnerships with financiers. So I focus on the Forbes lists, those Asian money that's there, or anyone on the Forbes list that would like to diversify their portfolio and look into the filmmaking industry and also to support the AAPI story. So I have to go back, because I have to follow up more with those meetings, and I hope I could launch a company by next year.
Okay, so everybody look at that, okay? He plans to have a production company employing more or less AAPI.
Yes.
But you need money for that.
Oh, exactly.
And so what did he do? Look at the Forbes magazine. Who are the Asians, high net worth individual who are wealthy, who have a lot of money and they can allocate a certain amount.
Yeah.
But the question is, how did you get to them? I mean, usually there's a phalanx of,
No, I don't do cold calling. The first backing that I have is the Department of Foreign Affairs, actually. Philippines. Because of my documentary in 2018 that won in 11 countries.
Okay,
So
wait. This is something that we did not talk about. He had a documentary of his life. Could you just tell them?
Yeah, it's called Life is What You Make It. It's a short
Life is what you make it. Listen, guys.
Yeah.
Life is what you make it, not your parents, not your brothers and sisters. It's what you make it.
Yeah, because at that time, I got tired of the press asking me about my story. Who are you? We've never heard from you. you're just this an explosion from a cultural disruption. So I said, might be time to do a documentary. So I did short documentary focusing on the importance of education as chronicled in my life from the slums in Iloilo City, Philippines to Broadway. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. In other words, from very humble beginnings in Iloilo.
Yes.
Okay. And now, producer. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is exciting. He's going to form a production company,
Yeah.
AAPI,
Yes.
based and funded
Yeah.
by wealthy Asians.
Yeah, or Asians
Fantastic.
supporting billionaires, right? And because I thought I have already, air quotes, conquered theater and music, right? So I always think of my professional advancement to carry with me the community. So I thought I'd also venture out into films and television. So my pipeline has those. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yes. So instead of one project at a time, his thought is more expansive.
Yeah, because I want to do 2 to 3 projects a year and all over the world, not just one. Wherever is the tax credit is better, I'll go there.
Right. Okay. See, very smart. Very smart.
Yeah.
So everyone out there, be sure you have somebody who is an accountant.
Yes. Yeah, I again growing up in the squatters area of Iloilo City, I never thought that I'd be at this point in my life. You can, for fun, actually, you can look into YouTube and look into Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike Oscar's Tony speech, because you can see me there on stage fidgeting because I was pinching myself. I cannot believe that because all I could think of was the last Filipino to be on that stage to receive a Tony Award. And
Who
that was
was that?
22 years ago.
Who was that?
Lea Salonga.
Oh, Leia. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Leia
1991.
Salonga. Tony for Miss Saigon.
Yeah, so that was 1991 and I came in 22 years later. So that was, I can't believe why me?
Bravo. Bravo. Mabuhay. Mabuhay, Jhett.
Yeah,
That is
thank you.
terrific. All right. There is one there are several questions from the audience. You don't mind
Ooh,
if we...
Sure.
When I watched Here Lies Love on Broadway, I looked for your name in the playbill and was surprised that you weren't in part of the producing team. Why is that? And, Here Lies Love didn't last long. So this is from Francis N. What do you think was the downfall of Here Lies Love? So 2 questions. Why were you not included in the production?
All right.
And then why did it fall? It ended shortly in 5 months.
Honestly, I've thought of this time to come, but not this early. I was thinking this would be a conversation with me and Vogue or Variety 10 or 15 years later. But Francis N., why was I not on the playbill and why was I not involved? I wanted to be involved. If you look back on the original playbill of Broadway, I was one of the producers then.
Okay,
Ran.
it was off-Broadway, meaning in public theater.
Yeah, Joe Pubs. Yeah, we did that and that ran for almost 2 years there. And when we closed off-Broadway in January 2014, I worked on a bigger, ambitious production because, again, I understand the commerciality of a show. And I asked for a meeting right away with Alex Timbers and David Byrne.
These are the composer.
Alex is the director.
No.
David Byrne is the
Composer of
creator.
the music.
Yeah, a writer with Fatboy Slim. But I met with David and Alex in a restaurant across Joe Pubs, and I sort of auditioned to be the lead producer on Broadway because I have idea on how to make it commercial enough that, because I always think of the handsome and sizable advanced sales, because that's the only way a show survives on Broadway. You gotta have in your bank at least $10 million advance sales. That's it. If you don't have that, it's not gonna make it.
All right.
That's one.
So Here Lies Love, for those who did not see it, is the story of Imelda Marcos. And it's almost like disco.
Yeah.
The entire thing is almost like a disco because there are no seats. You have to go with the dance. So it's very, very innovative.
Yeah, I love the dance. The concept really is fresh and new, and that's why I wanted to. So they did not tell me, but the way I see it, they thought my idea was too big, because originally I wanted the production to move to Broadway with at least one superstar headliner. Like my ideal Aquino was Darren Criss.
Darren Criss was on television.
Yeah.
In
He won the Golden Globe for the assassination of Gianni Versace.
Versace,
Okay.
yes.
So he was my ideal Aquino. And then my ideal Imelda was Nicole Scherzinger.
Now she is on Broadway,
Yeah.
Sunset Boulevard.
Exactly. And my ideal Marcos was Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, Filipino. Mother was Filipino.
Yeah, so I started reaching out to their people, and even all the way, because my idea again, just one superstar every 6 months. And I even reached out to Enrique Iglesias, who's also half Filipino, because my idea for Enrique Iglesias is to tap into the Spanish audiences. And he said, I don't do theater, you have to talk to my brother. I did not know he has a brother. So he endorsed me to Julio Iglesias Jr., who I've been communicating with, and invited me to his 44th birthday in Miami. I did not make that because we were in Seattle mounting the show there. And he was excited because he was already doing Grease in Madrid.
In Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. So, even Arnel Pineda, I told Arnel, it was like, kapatid, I have 2 left feet. I said, you're Filipino, it's in your bones. There's choreography.
Arnel Pineda is in the
Journey. Yeah.
in Journey. Okay, he was also
the band Journey.
Yes, also very successful Filipino.
Yeah, so he took over. And then I said, no. It was like, I'm short. I said, well, Eva Noblesada is short also. She could be the Imelda for you. So I have all these planned out because I just think of the advanced sales. Because as a producer, that's what we look for. You cannot operate on so many levels if you don't have the advanced sales. And if the red light, if you're below 10 already, you should see the writing on the wall. You're in trouble. So that was that. And then fast forward to October 2022, I was on a plane boarding from Guam to Saipan, and I got an email from the 3 general partners telling me that they're moving forward with the show and inviting me as a co-producer. And I kept quiet for the longest time because I don't want to I don't want to be labeled as a sour loser or something. But I thought when they offered that to me, that was such an insult. Insult because I've been on producing show for 7 years and I have 18 shows under my belt. I've been a lead producer twice. And for me to know that the Filipinos they got, I love these guys to death. We call each other kapatid, Clint and Jose, with all due respect to both of them, but they never had any experience in lead producing, much more in lead producing, right? So, and I didn't want to be a part of a show that clearly did not want me at the front seat, right? Because maybe the 3 general partners in the beginning know that I know too much already on how these things go. And they cannot just, I'll be in protest and everything. Because again, that was all right.
It's more or less. It's more or less when he was when you were called in. It's like as an afterthought.
Exactly.
So you will not really have any decision making.
Exactly.
They just wanted your money.
Yeah.
Meaning to say your ability to raise money.
Is this a family show, Loida? I don't know if I can drop some bad words.
No. It's okay.
I can?
No. It's okay.
Because my first thought, I was actually shaking. Going on board the plane. And it's like, what just happened? Because I've worked all this time on Broadway with the culmination, looking forward that Here Lies Love will be the culminating show of my career. To produce the first Filipino show on Broadway.
Yes.
Right? So it was really hurtful for me to be offered that low, right? And
As an afterthought.
exactly,
really.
and to me, I have to stand up for my worth. I don't want to be treated like, I always say this, I'm done being someone else's bitch, okay? Because I claim my agency, I've paid the dues, okay? Not just out of nowhere, I've paid my dues.
And you have awards to support your
well, so
your body of work.
exactly. And to answer the second question on the downfall of the show,
It closed in 5 months.
oh, sorry. It's sad. I'm sad and mad about the closure. Sad because to me, it's a wasted opportunity for Filipino artists or even artists of color to be on a Broadway show, right? That to me is number one. Number two, I'm mad because I could have helped, but you know what do you do when they don't want your help, right? So to answer the second question,
luto na. I mean, everything was cooked already.
yeah, to answer the question of what I think the reasons of the downfall of the show, okay, I'll start with the creators allowed the show to be political. I heard that they changed the ending and questioning the Filipinos like they never learned from the past, that look who's in the office now. So that's literally attacking Malacanang. And Marcos is still in office until 2028. So by no means our off-Broadway production did not do that, because our show off-Broadway, I had to address all these protests outside public theater. You know, we're not that show. I wanted the show to be just to tell what happened, because every Filipino knows what happened, right? So to me, as a producer, I wanted the audiences to have their own conclusion. What do you think? Where that's it. I don't want to give a conclusion to you that, yeah, the Marcoses are really bad and they killed Aquino and all that. There had been 2 Aquino presidents. Neither of them proved the assassination. So why me as a show? Why do you want me as a show answer, prove the point that he was assassinated by the Marcoses when in fact the 2 Aquino administrations never, resolved the matter, right? So to me, I was just there to entertain, to provide employment to the AAPI artists. And so that's that. The creators allowed it to be a political show. Number 2.
Political show in the sense that they showed the entire Imelda story up to the people power.
Yes. Yeah.
With the assassination of Ninoy Aquino and then people power.
The second would be the 3 general partners. I'm not a racist, but I will just say as it is. So the 3 white general partners did not know how to market the show. Okay?
I can attest to that.
Okay, they did not know how to market the show. And then that's why this is in my email. I have receipts to show this. I don't want to call Clint and Jose as token Filipinos, but by the look of it, they got the 2 Filipino producers who didn't have any experience in producing or lead producing, so that the 2 of them can just go along with their decision, right? And I think those are the 3 main reasons. Oh, I would put fourth as the cast. Most of the cast that was on Broadway, they were already off Broadway. So again, if you move it was a huge budget that reached to $22 million, right? So you gotta have to think of what can sell. I'm sorry, with all due respect to those actors who were on Broadway production.
Meaning to say the actors on Broadway were also the same actors in the off-Broadway in public theater.
Most of them.
Where it could only seat 200.
Yeah, off-Broadway only had 199 capacity.
Okay, but on Broadway, it's like 1,000.
More than that.
1,000 seats.
Because Broadway show, the Broadway theater, just for seats alone, it's 1,900 seats.
Yes, but taking out all the orchestra seat because it was a disco.
A disco. It
you
will be
dance
more
with
actually. It'll be
so
more
it's
capacity.
around 1,100
Yeah.
seats.
Oh my God. Now I feel lifted up because I've been boiling this in for the longest time. I didn't want to address this while the show is going on, but I'm just so pissed and sad at the same time because again, I love the show. I was part of the original production, but somebody dropped the ball. And I think you would see the verdict at the Tony Awards.
Well,
Yeah.
it was nominated for 4 Tony nominations. It had 4 Tony nominations, but none for Best Actress, not for Best Musical, not for, it was very, it was very, very unique in the sense
Yeah.
that how do you go to a Broadway show where you are part of the scene?
Yeah, and not too many Tony voters saw it. That's the thing. Because the spring, your show has to be open in spring for you to get votes. So for those because there's spring conference with the Broadway League, April and May, that's where most of the Tony voters, there's only 850 voters on Broadway are out of 37 million theater goers. So that 800, I'm not sure if the number has grown, but in my time, we were only 850. And every April and May, the spring conference, that's when the Tony voters converge into New York to watch Broadway shows. So again, if
But
your
it
show is
opened
open...
in April. It opened in April.
July, June.
Oh, July.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that's another thing. I would point the fifth reason, the wrong timing to open.
How did you learn how to direct a film since you did not go to film school? That is from Sheena.
Yeah, okay.
Sheena.
Why did I...
How did you learn how to direct a film?
The pivot, right? Not pivot. I don't want to call it pivot. In 2021, when Mike Ang sent me the script.
This is Lingua Franca.
Yeah, Lingua Franca. So 2021 was my 10th year anniversary as a commercial producer. And I thought, again, I'm thinking of something to evolve myself to, professional advancement. And at first, the first draft of the script was so raunchy that I thought if I give it to a straight male director, the film will be accused as misogynistic. If I give it to a straight female director, she will be accused of selling out. And I'm gay, so I can stay neutral in the middle. So I cleansed the script as much as it is. That's why we got PG rating in the Philippines, we got PG-13 in the Middle East, and we got R in the United States. So I thought I'd give it a try because this was, and coming from the Asian hate, right? I always think of Asian hate. We have friends who got punched, Putri got punched in the subway, right? And this Filipino who got slashed with a blade across the face. And you see some obnoxious people walking around. America is full. Get out or go back to where you belong. It's hurtful. So to me, I really am not the going to protest kind of person because I always want to stay safe. So my way of protesting is creating art. So I did Asian Persuasion. The other reason for that is because that's my way of protesting. You think I don't belong here? This is how I show you I belong here. And also the over 400 AAPI artists that was part of our cast and crew, and the 21 Asian nations that collaborated with me. So that's that. Just, simple thing, but has a lasting impact.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. There's a third reason, because Philippines is the only country without a divorce law.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Okay.
because Asian Persuasion has Filipino-American couple, I thought I wanted to show the Philippines, because most Filipinas in the Philippines think that they'll be on the losing end if they divorce their husbands. Not so. Well, as long as you're not the one who cheated, you have actually the leverage. because the court is most likely to lean on the mothers of the children.
Yes. So in the entire world, there were just two around 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Cuba and the Philippines have no divorce law.
Yeah.
Now Cuba has also done it.
Yeah.
So we're the only one in the country, in the whole world, that has no divorce law.
Yeah, and again, I when I go back to the Philippines, even churches, they have billboards, no to divorce law. Again, with all due respect to our priests, just let the women decide on their fate, because you will never understand how they go through, because one, you will never be married to a man, right? And also, if you don't like divorce, don't do it. It has to be accessible.
It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
You can sue somebody for divorce. But having had friends who husband has taken another family, and when the husband died, my friends got all the wealth because there is no divorce. So in a way, it is unfair. But since my friends were the one who's benefited, so I sort of understand why the women in the Philippines, when there is that kind of second wife or mistress, they don't want a divorce.
This is how I see it. I don't think there's the Congress already passed in the Philippines, but I don't think Senate.
No, it has not.
No. Senate will not pass it.
The lower house.
The lower house passed it, but the Senate will not. Why? Because most of the senators are men. And if they pass this law, there will be the number one casualties, because they have so many mistresses and children out of their marriages. So
yes, that figures. Yes, I didn't know that the lower house has passed it.
Yeah, they did.
All right, very good. This is from Mario B. Could you share some behind the scenes and insights of what it takes to bring a show to Broadway?
All right. Won't they really getting back to me with Broadway stuff where I thought I departed? Okay. Well, I prefer to be a producer that's involved from the beginning, from the concept to development to regional try and mounting it to Broadway, because you can call the shots again, because I don't want to be. I'm tired of being someone else's bitch for the longest time. I paid my dues, so I think, So it starts with a concept. So the writer, whoever has the thought, has to go, meet with a producer or a director right away to develop it. And once the incubation has flourished a little bit, then find collaborators for the design and and identify a not-for-profit theater around the country where you can do a trial that it won't cost you so much.
All right. That's a good suggestion for those who are aspiring. But as I said, and you said it itself, so expensive to produce a Broadway show.
Oh, and make sure that your concept is new, fresh, and never been seen before or heard.
Okay. Yes, that's good. Now, this is from JF. What are your personal rituals or habits that make you stay creative and focused on such a demanding industry?
I've been single for 15 years, so I don't date. When I think of that, I think of the time wasted getting to know someone. It's exhausting, so I'd rather create. So explore. When I get to a place or meet someone, I listen, and then I explore what can I come out with it from the interaction. And because I don't do vacations also. It's always with business, because there's so much stories. There's so many things you can do. It's New York that reminded me that every second counts. Every second is a missed opportunity if you let it.
Okay. So. You see that? Always very creative, always curious, always looking at stories.
Yeah.
So that's why he is ever fresh.
Oh, and find your tribe, stick with them, and make spaces for others.
That's a good one. Find your tribe, okay? Find your community. And this is the last one from Gino L. If there is a Broadway show or a film based on your life story, who would you like to portray Jhett Tolentino?
Oh, actually, I have this already in my pipeline.
Oh, you see that?
Life is what you make it. It's just a proof of concept for my life. It's going to be a trilogy because of the facets of my career. I have Bruno Mars in mind too.
Bruno Mars. Oh my goodness. Bruno Mars, as you know, is
I know
a
he's not an
singer.
actor, but I think I can convince him to evolve also. You know.
All right. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jhett Tolentino, Broadway producer, film director, and overall a very creative Filipino artist. Thank you. This is Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nick.
Galing, galing, galing.
Thank you.
The Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV. Executive produced by Laura Nicholas Olace. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together